Yeah, what are your set of skills? Like, what are the characteristics that Ainsley upholds?
I'm a little audacious. I am happy to take a risk, and I always make sure that when I'm providing information, I'm providing accurate and correct information. The other piece of that though is accept when you're not right, accept when you've made mistakes, learn from those, and don't just try and cover them up.
And you were mentioning too before we got on with the YWCA is you're really excited about the purpose behind it as well.
Yeah, the organization has just, their values, the moral of the organization, all of the things that they do. They are in our community and in our communities, right? Obviously, I work for just the Regina YWCA, but they're in communities all across Canada. And they're there to help women and children get out of situations that we probably can't even imagine. Given what's going on in the world, I think if we have opportunities to help, I feel like I have a moral obligation to do so. And so that's what I'm really excited about. Like I said, I get to use my pretty specific skill set to go and help folks, and that doesn't come around very often.
Welcome to the Mastering Property Management podcast. I'm your host, Jared Sarbit. Join me as we delve into candid conversations with industry experts to uncover their strategies and insights for achieving success in property management. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, let's elevate your property management skills together. Hi, everybody. I'm Jared Sarbit, and this is Mastering Property Management. Today, I have the honor and privilege of having Ainsley Oldershaw on, Director of Properties with the new position, the YWCA. Ainsley, thanks so much for joining me.
Awesome. I'm super excited to join you here.
Yeah, likewise. We met back in September at Bomex, and Ainsley and I were on a panel together, and really connected there. And I'm so excited to have you on. Right away I could tell that you have so much value and input to give to the industry. So thanks for joining me.
Thanks. It's great to hear. And I'm super excited to even just have a few people hear my voice.
Awesome. This is a really unique one because as we're recording this, you're currently at your previous job, but when we release this, you're going to be at a new job with the YWCA. So this is super unique. We're going to approach it a little bit different. The conversation is going to be a little different than normal. So I'm really excited to delve in here. Tell me a little bit about, what's going on in your world?
Okay.
That's what's happening.
Yeah, for sure. So as you mentioned, I am kind of in that like transition phase of roles. So my current role that I'm sitting in as of the record date is Associate Property Manager with Harvard Developments. And then by the time this is released and everyone's listening to it or watching on YouTube, I will be the Director of Properties for the YWCA here in Regina. So it's a very interesting time in my career right now. I'm sitting here at my desk at Harvard. I'm working on transferring things over to my staff. I'm working on building some how-to manuals and making sure that I'm leaving everything in a position where people can pick up what I'm working on, trying to close out a couple projects. And then there's this crazy thing where I'm also trying to share my contact information with everybody that I've worked with over the last 3 years. It's great that we have things like LinkedIn and things like that, but I do have other, partners that I work with regularly, and I can talk a little more about it later, but I built a whole new parking structure and, parking management structure. And so I want to maintain that relationship with my parking partners. But not necessarily just through LinkedIn. And how do I navigate that space, as well? I'm the vice chair of the BOMA Saskatchewan board. And so maintaining my communications with the rest of the board, it's all, silly things like my email is all going to my Harvard email, but I need to transition all that to my personal email. So that takes a lot of time and thought and effort and, you know, planning to make sure that I don't just disappear off the face of the earth one day, uh, and then start from scratch elsewhere. So
It's a big thing. It's like moving houses,
yeah.
right? Like you're packing up and going, and it's a big transition in your life. So I'm really honored that you're taking the time to talk to me because I'm sure you got lots going on. And so tell me a little bit about like your story. What got you into property management in the first place? What are some major milestones along the way? And how did you reach your current level of success that you're at today?
So I think a lot of people in property management ended up here the same way, and I just kind of like accidentally stumbled across it. Um, you know, I have a degree in kinesiology, and so how does that match my current role? Um, I actually came out of university and I went into a safety focused role, prevention of injuries and all of those things. So I started in safety and I was working for a tractor company.
Oh, cool.
Again, how does that translate? Well, looking for my next opportunity, I became a safety coordinator for a facility management company. And then the safety focused from individuals to how do we make sure our building maintains compliance? And so that's where I got interested in the property management side. And I was like, hey, I think I could actually do the whole thing. So from there, from the safety coordinator position, I held that for a few years. And then I found this opportunity here at Harvard as associate property manager to look at everything kind of more holistically instead of just that one safety piece. I'm now looking at, operating the equipment, maintaining the equipment, as well as the financial side and, building budgets and maintaining those because there's so many pieces to it. So I ended up here and then, I've had a chance here for the last 3 years to learn so much, and just build a ton of relationships. And this opportunity for the YWCA position came up. And this one, it was really exciting to me because, yeah, it's a little step up and everybody wants that every few years in their career. But I think what really drew me in and said, hey, I needed to apply for it was the fact that it's the YWCA, the work they do in the community. We are living through a lot of different things right now. As a millennial, I can attest this is what my third financial crisis, who knows? And it feels like it's crisis after crisis. And sometimes it's nice to feel like I can help. I have a pretty specific set of skills, and it's really exciting that I get to use those at an organization that helps women and children, better their lives. So that's where I'm at now.
Yeah, very, very cool. That leads me right into my next question is, yeah, what are your set of skills? Like, what are the characteristics that Ainsley upholds that really, has made you so successful and why is it a great fit for the YWCA, I should say?
Yeah. You know what? I always say this as a bit of a joke, but I do think it's serious. I'm a little audacious. I am happy to take a risk. I like hearing my own voice. I like to be one of the louder people in the room. And I always make sure that when I'm providing information, I'm providing accurate and correct information. I like to do my research. I like to do all those things. And so I think it's just show up, say what you have to say, and, you know, be as correct as you possibly can be. The other piece of that though is accept when you're not right, accept when you've made mistakes, learn from those and don't just try and cover them up. That I think is how I've gotten to where I am and how I build my relationships with people. It's all about, like I said, taking the risk for sure, but then adjusting if need be.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. And you were mentioning too before we got on with the YWCA is you're really excited about the purpose behind it as well.
Yeah.
Sounds like that's something very important to you as well. So
Yeah, the organization has just, their values, their, the moral of the organization, all of the things that they do. They are in our community and in our communities, right? Obviously, I work for just the Regina YWCA, but they're in communities all across Canada. And they're there to help women and children get out of situations that we probably can't even imagine. And as I mentioned, given what's going on in the world, I think if we have opportunities to help, um, I feel like I have a moral obligation to do so. And so that's what I'm really excited about. Like I said, I get to use my pretty specific skill set to go and help folks. And that doesn't come around very often.
that's beautiful, very nice. As you mentioned, you've held both an emerging leader chair and most recently a vice chair of the board of BOMA Saskatchewan. How did you get involved in BOMA? What drew you to leadership roles within the organization?
It was actually my leader here at Harvard. I say here because again, I'm sitting in that office. But my leader at Harvard, she just started bringing me along to BOMA events. They have lunch and learns every month here in Saskatchewan, and they do a lot of networking events. And she just started bringing me along. And at the time, the chair of the board said, "Hey, we have this emerging leader committee. you know, you have to be within a certain age range to be part of it. Ainsley, do you have any interest in joining?" And I said, "Yeah, absolutely." And at the first emerging leader committee meeting I was at, they needed to appoint a new chair and no one else was volunteering. And I said, "Yeah, I'll do it."
Hence the
Um,
audacious
yeah, just
characteristic. Yeah.
a little bit audacious, a little ballsy, a little like,
That's awesome.
So it's really just about volunteering. And then, again, I've been on that board. So I'm still technically the chair for that committee. Um, but through that, I obviously became more and more involved in the BOMA Saskatchewan organization, and they had a call for board members. So I applied. Again, just be a little bit audacious, even if you don't think you're 100% right. I was chosen, I was voted in for that position. So it's kind of nice knowing that I didn't just get it because I was the only one that showed up. I did get voted into it. And then they needed a vice chair and they were taking volunteers basically. And I was the one that put my hand up for that as well. So, um, you know, it's been super cool the last few months. It was February that I officially became the vice chair of the board, which was just 1 month after I was voted onto the board. But it's been a really big learning curve. It's super exciting to learn how a board of directors works like this. And just some of the challenges they face and work, it is a nonprofit organization. So I feel like that's really exciting. And it's given me a bit of info into how I can move into a nonprofit space for my career as well. And yeah, I think like really what drew me to those is I've always liked being a little bit of a leader. Like I said, I like having my voice heard. School projects, I took the lead, all that kind of stuff. So I think that's who I am a little bit. And I'm just naturally inclined to volunteer for something when it shows up. But that's how I got them. I put my hand up and I said, "Yeah, I'd love to do this."
That's
And
great. That's great.
yeah,
What do you get from BOMA yourself personally? Like you mentioned some, the nonprofit thing and some, but
yeah.
why do you see the value? What do you see the value in BOMA?
The value in BOMA is really the opportunity to, build your network. We talk about networking and sometimes we don't know how. Yeah, it's great we have LinkedIn, but this is in-person networking. As well, the BOMA Association across Canada and internationally, what they do is they connect um, property managers and owners with the services and the partners that they need to do their business. We need cleaners, we need HVAC service technicians, we need people who can fix roofs and do the glazing of our buildings and anything in between. Those folks are also members of the BOMA Association. And so it connects us in these, less formal environments, or it gives us an opportunity to know that they exist out in the marketplace. So when we're going out for tender, or when we're searching for, people that can help us with our projects or help us with those challenges that we come up against as property managers, we already have this like pocket full of, industry professionals that can help us or know who to go to help us.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, I'm fairly new to BOMA. I think it's been a couple of years now, but the value there is just, yeah, it's immeasurable. It's been amazing for us as
It,
well. So,
it really is. And then, it's great when we can find services, but what also is awesome is knowing that there are other property managers in that group. And I'm like, "Hey, have you ever come across this before? Because it's new to me. And what did you do?" So, it's great that we can connect with our industry partners, and build off of each other, as opposed to always feeling like, "Oh, we're competing with this company and this company and this company." No, we're all doing the same job. Sure, it happens to be for under different names, but we all have to do the same stuff and keep our tenants happy. So
Beautifully said. Awesome. You have an undergraduate degree from the Faculty of Kinesiology and Health Studies with a major in health promotion taken at the University of Regina. Do you find that your education in health promotion gives you a unique perspective on workplace wellness, building environments, or even tenant experiences?
I think it definitely does. It is a very non-traditional form of education to then go into property management, but I think I look at things differently, especially with that focus on health promotion. Really, what that is program development. So when we are that, and that's with my degree, with my studies, that's what health promotion was: is how do we, sitting in a university class, how do we promote this health product to people? But I can 100% translate that into how can I build a program that is effective for the people in my buildings and for the users of this space. So when we have facilities that are available, like conference centers or fitness facilities, or even lobbies to be booked and things like that, how can we make it accessible and usable for our tenants? How can we make sure they know about it? How can we help them build something that works well? And so it's, that in that way, it's really great as well when we're trying to roll out new programs. I mentioned earlier my parking partners here at Harvard. I transferred all of the parking management from in-house on paper and Excel spreadsheets to a company that actually manages parking lots. So much, much better at it than I am. But part of that is, how do we make our tenants understand that that's what's happening? And it's still a Harvard facility, but when you want parking, you go and talk to these very knowledgeable folks over there. So, again, that comes back to that program development and how am I communicating and what is the messaging we're putting towards what's happening so that it's clear and it's effective.
Yeah, very nice. I imagine you'll probably come across that in the YWCA as well. Health is going to be critical for that demographic who you're going to be working with to support. So I imagine that's going to be very very useful in the new position.
Oh, for sure. And I think it's going to help. I'll be working with people and beside people that are likely in more health minded positions than I am. Obviously, I'm property focused, but something that's going to be very important to me and is important regardless of where I am is collaborating with all the teams to make sure what we're doing is effective, right? Does the space work for you? Does the time we're doing work for you? I don't want to come in and be doing work in people's residents or spaces when they're supposed to be cooking supper. What works best? So it's going to be a transition for sure. So at Harvard, we do all those kinds of things at night, right? We don't want our tenants to see it. We want to keep it very behind the curtain and make sure our tenant experience day to day is great. We don't want to disrupt their work during the day. We don't want, banging and drilling and all those noises to happen while they're trying to take phone calls and be in meetings. But that looks very different when you're dealing with someone that's moving into a shelter or in a daycare or, an emergency housing situation. So it's going to be a really cool challenge to come up against and see what that difference looks like between the two spaces for sure.
Very good. Tell me a little bit about the properties you've managed. You were mentioning at Harvard, you were saying to me that you a lot of office space.
Yeah.
But tell me your experience in properties, and then what kind of properties do you anticipate managing with the YWCA?
Yeah. So my properties, as you mentioned, it's office space here at Harvard. Prior to Harvard, the facility management company I was with, I was actually on a Government of Canada contract. So we managed their office spaces as well as the teeny tiny little border sites that are here in Saskatchewan against the US border. So I used to have to drive down there and do safety inspections down at the border. Um, so I've been in rural locations, I've been in urban locations, and my urban locations are pretty much office space, office towers, and that comes with its own set of challenges. But then transitioning to the Y, I'm going to be looking at, there is some office space, but a much smaller proportion. There are emergency shelters, there are daycares, and just other like care facilities that are needed. So it's going to be really interesting to switch from this very, corporate sparkly environment to an environment that's maybe not sparkly all the time.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. Okay, very good. You were mentioning to me that, one of your very important parts of, what you like to focus on is people development, something that you're truly passionate about. In your view, what are the key differences between simply managing people and genuinely developing them as individuals?
I said this is important for a reason because if I don't have people that know what they're doing or want to do what they're doing, I can't do my job. I can't maintain facilities. And so, it's you're gonna always have folks that are happy to be in their position and they just want to keep doing their position. But something that's really important to me is finding individuals that want growth in their career. And, as an emerging leader with BOMA, something that's really close to my heart, and maybe I'm a little biased against it. I love finding young people that maybe don't know what they want to do yet. And saying, hey, I've actually got a pretty cool opportunity. Do you want to come learn some stuff? And maybe it's helping them understand what type of education they need to level up their knowledge so they can keep moving to the next steps. Maybe it's them coming into the position and being like, hey, this was a cool opportunity, but it's actually not for me. I need to move on. And that's okay because I did that too. I worked at a tractor company and that wasn't for me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's to me, that's what it's about. Growing up, I actually always wanted to be like a high school teacher. And so this is kind of the next best thing, getting to lead people and build people and help them set their goals and help them understand not just how to set them, but how to achieve them, how to break them down into smaller steps so that they feel like they're making progress and they're seeing it in themselves and not just having other people tell them that they're doing
Yeah, I love
these
that.
steps.
I love that. Yeah, it's funny. You're not the first person I've had on the podcast. There's actually been a handful that have said they were teachers temporarily or they were aspiring. They went to school to be a teacher. It's interesting. I don't know if
Maybe we just want our summers off. Who knows?
that could be. There's so much for that, right? But, yeah, awesome. What do you think are the key ingredients for successful tenant relationships? And obviously, you can speak to your experience with Harvard in that regard. Maybe you have some assumptions with the YWCA. I don't know if you want to go into that, but yeah, tell me.
I'll definitely speak about my experience with Harvard and previous. Really, what it's about is meeting people where they are, understanding maybe what's challenging them. What are they not liking about the space? Is there something that we could do to make it better? And, you know, just try, right? I find as long as I'm trying to understand what our tenants are asking, they're grateful for that. They're open to, they understand when things can take a little bit of time because we're working through some problems together. So I would just say like open communication and making sure that you're there to listen and not just tell, right? Their listening is so key when you're working with folks that are occupying your space. Obviously, they're the ones keeping our lights on, keeping our buildings running, keeping the bills paid. And so we want to make them happy and we want to build this amazing experience for them. But I can't do that if I don't know what their challenges are. I can't go and make assumptions about everything. And if I do, there's going to be some folks that are upset. So really, like, if I'm going to take a risk, it's because I'm taking one that is educated and I've gone and talked to our tenants and asked them, what's up? What's not working for you? Because you guys aren't super happy, but what's keeping you from being happy here? And obviously there are things that we can't control in our line of work, right? There are going to be accidents and emergencies and things that take place. But just explaining, even through those processes, what's happening. In a previous role, I had a major water infiltration. And when I say major, I mean like one of the emergency lines broke, it froze and broke, and we had hundreds of thousands of gallons of water pouring into a building from the second level, and it made it all the way into the basement, infiltrating tenant spaces, ruining technology and equipment. And months of cleanup. It was, but explaining to our tenants, being like, hey, we understand how frustrating this is. It's a pain to not be able to get into your office, but we want to make sure we're doing the remediation properly. We want to make sure everything's dried out properly. We want to make sure that there's not contamination, you know. So it's just maintaining that level of communication is so important through everything.
No kidding. Well done. Well done. What's your approach when to maintaining operational excellence in the properties that you provide service for?
I think a little bit of it is the same as the last question, talking to people and understanding what their needs are, but also building processes that are easy for our team to follow, right? If we're building processes and programs that cannot be followed easily in an emergency situation, then there is no chance that my operators are going to be able to follow it when things happen. As simple as even building emergency evacuation plans, making sure that it's consistent through every property. Here at Harvard, in this portfolio, there are 12 buildings. And so having consistency through each building is very important to make sure that it doesn't matter what operator picks up that clipboard, they're going to know what to do next because it's the same everywhere.
Perfect. And sounds
And
like oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say consistency is super key, and simplicity is also key when possible. Obviously, some things aren't simple, but when possible, keep it simple.
Amazing. And it sounds like you're putting a lot of effort and thought into ensuring that whoever moves into your role understands those systems are all in place at Harvard.
Yeah, and that's part of, as I'm wrapping things up here, that's part of what I'm doing, building, those kind of how-to manuals. Even if it's a one-pager, like, hey, this document I used for tracking X, Y, and Z, this is how I tracked it. This is how you can read the data. Um, you know, and then that way people aren't sitting there guessing to understand how my brain worked when I built a spreadsheet. So
that's fantastic. And that just goes to show how much, you care, and you can't teach that quality. So,
oh, for sure. That's definitely something, when you're looking and you're hiring people, you always want to try and find those people. I probably lean more towards people like myself. I think every leader does, but it's just the things we do impact others. And so it's nice to be thoughtful of that impact.
yeah, well said. Very well said. How do you leverage technology and software to streamline your property management process and enhance the tenant experience? Maybe you could speak to Harvard. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the YWCA technology yet.
Yeah, so the YWCA technology is a mystery to me. Like I said, I have not yet moved into that new role, so I can't speak to it. But I am very excited to learn what they have in place and see if there's anything that I can maybe help improve. But we've had some in the last 12 months, we've actually had some really cool initiatives here at Harvard. So we switched from using a system called WorkSpeed, which is building work orders and sending it out to appropriate building operators or whoever needs to do the task. We switched over to a system called MRI Angus. We use that now because it links to our financial management system, and it works very similarly, right? It's set up per building, work orders are created. But what's really cool is our tenants can also create work orders instead of calling our customer service line or sending an email to our customer service email. They have the ability to create those themselves. The other thing that I want to highlight that Harvard's done, and I think it's super cool, it's an initiative that I really haven't seen much elsewhere. We just launched a tenant app here in the Regina downtown. So this tenant app offers an online experience so you can find out about all the amenities that might be available to you in the facilities downtown. There's a button right in there that says, yeah, I have a service request I want. I can click it and I can type out what I want, and it creates those work orders through that MRI Angus program I was telling you about. We are able, as property managers, to share information very easily. So we have a crazy amount of construction happening in downtown Regina, as I'm sure is happening in every other city in the world right now. But they've got one of our major thoroughfares completely closed. And so what we've done is we've provided notices, we've provided, maps and information, and we've posted that on this app so that our tenants can go in And yes, you can go to the City of Regina website, but we want to be able to provide it to you as well and say, hey, here's some alternate routes to get to your building in the morning or at the end of the day. Um, so that's been super cool. And then we do some tenant events. We're in the process of planning a tenant spring breakfast. So if you're ever in Regina, you have to go to Green Spot and get a Green Spot cinnamon bun. But we give green spot cinnamon buns to every tenant in every building for a week here in Regina. And it's a very big deal. It's a very, it's a fun event. We get out, we're interacting with all of our tenants, and not just those, the usual key players, the leasing individuals or the managers and the decision makers. It's everybody. They're coming out and they're excited that they're going to get one of these cinnamon buns. So, um, GreenSpot is also one of our tenants. So we like to try and support our tenants, and we do all of this. And we've got a couple other tenants. I'm going to keep it secret just in case people listen to this, but a couple other tenants that we're working with that are new to Regina downtown. And so we're really excited about what they can offer. But those kinds of things we're also putting out on the app, right? We're advertising it there. And in just the 1 month that this app has been available for our downtown tenants, we have like 600, almost 700 users on there, which is super cool because our total occupancy is in the like 3,500 to 4,000 range in Regina downtown. So we've had some really good uptake. Again, considering it's been like 4 weeks as of right now, it's been really cool. And just, yeah, I think that's such a cool piece of technology that we've brought in here at Harvard. And I can't wait to continue hearing from my colleagues how it benefits them and how the tenants like interacting with it. So far I've only heard really good things. But it's really cool.
Yeah,
And
really, really smart. Yeah, very
yeah.
innovative and engages the tenants just to the next level. That's a really, really good idea. If you are the first to do it, I'm sure you won't be the last. I imagine lots.
No, I think we're kind of the first here in Regina that's maybe offered something like that I'm aware of. But again, like it's such a cool feature, and you can access it from your phone. You can also access it from the web, which is really neat. So those folks that they want that work life separation, they can just keep it on their work computer, right? You sign up with your work email, you keep it on your work computer, and that's that. So, there's some really good options to get everybody involved, even those folks that maybe aren't handed a cell phone on their first day. So.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. As a leader in property management, what advice would you give aspiring property managers? I know you're very interested in developing people. So, those who are looking to climb the ranks and, achieve similar success to yourself.
Have a big goal, but break it down, right? There's only one way to eat an elephant, and it's one bite at a time. So have the biggest goal you want, right? It doesn't matter how big your goal is, but understand what steps is it going to take to get there. Use the resources around you. Ask your leaders, ask your colleagues, join organizations like BOMA or other organizations, and ask colleagues there and individuals there, what did you do next? I'm at this point and I'm feeling stuck. What do you think I could do to elevate, right? Oh, you're looking for this role, but I'm not quite right. What would make me right for that role for you? Is there something I can do? And be curious, ask the questions, and break your big goals down into bite-sized pieces.
So good. I love that elephant quote. I've never heard that before.
You know
That
what?
is
My
so good.
leader here, she used it because working on that parking project, I was just like a little overwhelmed with it right at the beginning. And she said that, and she's like, how do you eat an elephant? And I'm like, what? I don't know. She said, one bite at a time, right? Yes, it's huge. It's giant. It doesn't feel doable, but you can take one bite. You can take one step. You can, and just see that next little piece coming up, and you'll find some success that way for sure.
I've taken the advice already, because sometimes I see the elephant and I want to get that elephant, but it's
Oh,
like,
for sure.
how do you get it right? And so one bite at a
Yeah.
time. I love it. Very good. Assuming janitorial, at least with Harvard, is one of your largest ongoing costs. How do you look for janitorial companies to work with, and what qualities of the company are you looking for?
So, yes, Harvard, we take janitorial very seriously. We run Class A office facilities here in downtown Regina, and some of the only Class A office facilities that Regina has to offer. So, we have very particular cleaning specs here. We are very diligent about going through to make sure everything is going to look the way our owners want, as well as, our tenants that are paying top dollar to be here. So, I would say just with that, I want my cleaning company to not just take that giant contract that I've got that's a stack that big for all my buildings, but I actually want them to make sure they understand what their role is in each building. If they have suggestions for how to do it better, I want to hear that from my cleaning company or from any company that I'm working with. But something we have here at Harvard, we call it Sparkle Patrol. And a lot of our buildings were built in like the 80s and 90s, so everything is chrome and shiny and sparkly. We have a lot of glass, a lot of windows. And so those high touch point areas, you get into an elevator or you're in the lobby coming through the glass doors. I don't want to see people's fingerprints on them. So multiple times a day, we've got folks out there on Sparkle Patrol cleaning glass, cleaning chrome work, mopping our common area floors regularly so you're not seeing footsteps. I'm so happy the snow is finally gone here. And so it's so much easier for our day porters to keep those floors clean and nice looking. But it's always a challenge. Every winter, we live in Saskatchewan, it's going to be messy. And even in Alberta, I know it's exactly the same. So really anywhere in Canada, I think you're going to have that problem of how do I keep the floor clean in this lobby? But that's something that is very important to us is not just that nighttime cleaning. So, our main cleaners come through, they clean office spaces every night, they empty the garbage cans, they do all of that, they vacuum as needed as well. They have, those kind of regular schedules to make sure things are caught up. But we also have folks in the buildings making sure washrooms are clean through the day. Our fitness facilities are cleaned, right after lunch. It's always busy at lunchtime, so we have folks go in there right after lunch. And then even down to our parking facilities, we have cleaners in our parking facilities. We want them walking through and, we have garbage cans available, but not everybody uses them. So, but just keeping all of our spaces as nice looking as possible. We do twice a year window cleaning on all of our towers. Most of our towers are all glass. So, keeping those looking nice through the year is always challenging, but we do that a couple times a year. And so just making sure that janitorial company is ready to take on the challenge. I think here at Harvard, we're in a really good position to pay what the bill is. That's fine, but we have a standard that needs to be upheld. So we'll continue paying it as long as our service is maintaining that Class A high level Sparkle Patrol service.
Yeah. Very cool. The Sparkle Patrol. So that like something you communicate, in the RFP or when to the janitorial service
Yes.
providers. And basically it sounds like a day porter type of position that just.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah. So we've got a day porter in every facility. Some facilities have, share a day porter depending on the size of it, or you have like 1.5 day porters. We also have, and this is a very old term, but day matrons, and they're the ones that are doing the washrooms. I know it's an old term, but that's what it is in our contract still. But basically just, daytime cleaners that if something happens, they can be there quickly to help clean it up right away. As well, just doing that maintenance through the day. They're there and they're ready to help out when needed, but also they know that your building has to sparkle, and something that I like to do is give those day porters and our daytime cleaners and even the nighttime cleaners a little bit of ownership. Like, this is your building, right? Let's present it like it's yours. I think it's important that we give that recognition where it's due, because they're doing a ton of work. I'm not the one out there polishing doors. I've got other tasks to do, but that's an important task that we want and our ownership wants for sure.
I love the high level of expectations. Like you know, those are the type of people we love to work with. They're, you know, prepared to invest because they understand the importance of that first impression. You know, like
Yeah,
when new tenants come in to look at the property, the elevator isn't polished or the floor is dirty, or whatever it may be, you may have just lost a tenant,
for
because of
sure.
that.
It's that
Yeah.
it's that
Yeah.
first impression,
Yeah.
and the other thing we're doing, we've got one building, we have a lobby being redecorated. So yeah, that doesn't look pretty. But in that case, hey, the part of the lobby that is accessible, can you guys make sure a couple times a day we're cleaning it up, keeping the dust down, those types of things. So it's important to also like shift to the conditions that you're in as opposed to just ABC and that's it. So
Be flexible. No, that's a great answer. Thank you. Now for some fun questions. If you can manage any famous property in the world, which property that would that be and why?
you know what? This one, it came to me like instantly when you said that. It's SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, California. I was there a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago now, for Taylor Swift tour, Eras tour.
Nice.
Um, but I remember walking up to it. Myself and my stepmom, we went to the show and just walking up to the facility. I mean, I'm a Swiftie. I'll go for it. And I was so excited about the show. But walking up to this facility, I was like, oh my goodness, just the vastness of it, the size of the pillars that go to the top. I had never been in an NFL stadium or really any stadium that holds, 100,000 people, and just how massive that building was. I'm also a bit of a Southern California girly. I love it there. It's weather's always nice. It's just so location wise is perfect for me, but also just, and then I think the experience I had while I was there, it was so special and so meaningful. But yeah, I would say SoFi
I love
Stadium
it.
would
I love
be
it. That's a great answer.
top
That's,
top of the list for me.
that's a
And
great.
not for the football reasons. Like, yeah, I
Right.
guess they play there, like whatever, but also Taylor Swift uses it, so it's fine.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Yeah, very good. Okay, and then finally, my last question is, if you could recommend a book to your fellow property managers, what book would that be, and why?
This one had me stumped a little bit. I had to think about it. And it's not necessarily a book, it's actually a course I took. And I think it's applicable to a lot of people. But the course is called Dare to Lead. The course is put together by Brene Brown, and she's got, registered teachers of this course kind of throughout North America and I think throughout the world, but for sure North America. And I took this about 2 years ago. And the things I learned about myself and my leadership style and what I needed to change was incredible. This is a course that, I was fortunate enough to go to, and it opened my eyes to stepping out into a space that's uncomfortable, but being okay with being uncomfortable. And so there's lots of reading material that goes along with it, and you can buy books about Dare to Lead for sure. But if you have the option to take the Dare to Lead course, 100%, that's the one.
Yeah, good to know. It's amazing how much you can learn about leadership and like improve the way you function in your workplace just by spending the time educating yourself, learning, and
Yeah.
I know certainly that was the case for me. Leadership takes work. It takes real work.
Does it ever? It takes a lot of work. And I would say, like, at times, the leadership work is almost more challenging than the property management work.
Right. Yes.
Yeah, we get brought strange problems sometimes, but there's going to be a solution to it. Sometimes that leadership stuff, working with different types of people,
Mhm.
the solutions can be much more challenging to
Yeah.
find.
Yeah. It's so
Um,
true. So true.
so, and that's what keeps me interested, I think, in leadership and maintaining those relationships with my team
Mm.
is that challenge. It's not just, oh, a tenant has this problem, let's go fix it. Here's
Yeah.
another one, let's go fix it. It's
Yeah.
more dynamic to me.
I
But
love it. Very good. Thank you so much. Well, Ainsley, this has been amazing, and like I said, super unique because you're in that transition stage. I know you have nothing but great things to say about Harvard developments, and I'm sure they're going to miss you. But I wish you, and as this podcast is out, you're already now working at the YWCA. So I wish you so much success there. You're going to be the right fit for with that compassion and audacious approach to things. I'm so excited for the YWCA to have you join their team, and I'm excited for you. And wishing you all
awesome.
the best.
Thank you so much, Jared. This has been such a cool opportunity. It's the first podcast I've ever been on, so that's exciting for me. Um, but yeah, it is a really interesting time period for me. So the next couple
Yeah,
weeks until this podcast comes out, I'll be eagerly waiting to hear what I said. And yeah, you're right. This relationship with Harvard, I've only learned things here,
yeah,
right? They've been so great. They've provided so many opportunities for me to learn, and they've challenged me so much, and that's what's made me ready for this next step. So,
yeah. Beautiful.
I'm looking forward to it, and I'm looking forward to, maintain my relationships here at Harvard and build some new ones over at the Y.
I love it. All the best. Thank you, Ainsley.
Thanks so much.
Yeah.